Now, in relation to your role as chair of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group, I take it that you were aware at that point in time that Parliamentary Friendship Groups were subject to the Parliamentary Friendships Group policy of the Parliament?
Yes.
And you knew that that policy prohibited friendship groups from undertaking activities of a commercial nature?
Yes.
And there was one little exception to that, which was in relation to sponsorship for charitable donations. But as you understood it, subject to that exception, friendship groups were not entitled to.
So we'll see if perhaps we can return that. They were just running Daryl Maguire, of course, through exactly the rules around backbencher when he progressed to parliamentary secretary as well, around rules around outside employment, what he could do in terms of his business interests. Well, I think we've returned that feed now. We'll go back to it.
On friendship groups undertaking activities of a commercial nature under the relevant policies, that was enforced throughout the period of time in which you...
Having a bit of an issue with that particular feed, so we'll leave that there for the moment. As that happens, we're getting ready for the latest Donald Trump rally. It's a pretty familiar sight, isn't it, these days? Outside, Air Force One parked in the background, just to make sure everyone knows that he is the incumbent. And as we see there are a few masks, quite often not too many. Outdoors is the good sign in terms of any COVID transmission. We might have a brief listen. I can hear Creedence Clearwater Revival blaring. We'll just listen into a few seconds of the atmosphere there. All right, I just wanted to hear Fortunate Son. Great song. We'll go back to Donald Trump perhaps later on this hour. He's due to appear any moment at that rally, but we've returned to the ICAC feed now. Let's have a listen in.
Did you see there a Parliamentary Friendships Group policy of May 2011?
Yes.
And I'll just show you on the next page, really left, the group must not undertake activities of a commercial nature other than obtaining sponsorship for charitable donations.
Yes,
Did you see that there?
Yes.
If we just go back to the first page, that was May of 2011. So is it consistent with your recollection that at least as at May of 2011, it was prohibited under the relevant policy for a parliamentary friendship group like the Asia Pacific Parliamentary Friendship Group to engage in activities of a commercial nature, yes, subject to the small exception that we can see, yes, on the screen? And you understood that at the time that you were the chair of the Asia Pacific Friendship Group, is that right?
I would have to agree, yes.
Well, you don't have to agree. Do you agree that as you understood it as chair, it would be wrong, at least as a matter of policy, for the Asia Pacific Friendship Group to get involved in activities of a commercial nature?
Mr Robertson, I see the document. I couldn't recall it directly until you showed it to me, but I would agree that's what it says.
Well, both as a member and as the chair of the Australia Pacific Friendship Group, you would have made sure that you were aware of what the provisions of the Code of Conduct which applied to its activities. Would you not?
I should have.
Even if you don't recall it now?
Yes, I should have, yes.
But whether you're aware of the particular document, at the time that you were chair and engaging in activities under the banner of the Asia Pacific Friendship Group, you knew that it was contrary to the correct approach to parliamentary friendship groups, as a matter of policy at least, for those friendship groups to be involved in matters of a commercial nature, correct?
I should have, yes.
Well, not just you should have, you knew, didn't you?
Yes, I knew, yes.
In part, the name of it is a giveaway. Parliamentary Friendship Group, not Parliamentary Commerce Group or something along those lines. Mm. You agree?
Yes.
And you're aware of that at the time, that you were engaged in activities for the Parliamentary Friendship Group, is that right?
Yes.
At the time that you were chair of the Parliamentary Friendship Group, do you agree that you knew that your appointment as chair didn't amount to some sort of general authorisation to represent the executive government in the Asia Pacific region, or for that matter anywhere else?
Yes.
It would have been wrong, for example, for you to go to some Asia Pacific country and in effect represent yourself as someone who is in a position to represent the executive government.
Yes.
Right? Quite fine to describe yourself as a member of parliament because that's, of course, accurate. But you knew at the time that you were chair of the Asia Pacific Friendship Group, that it would be wrong, and you were not authorised to, in effect, say to people, well, I'm a representative of the executive government, as opposed to I'm a person who happens to be a member of parliament.
Yes.
Do you agree that whilst you were a member of parliament, there were resources available to you in the event that you had some concern as to whether a particular course of conduct would be regarded as inconsistent with or consistent with the codes of conduct and policies that I have referred you to so far?
The ethics manager, yes.
So, for example, one of the sources of potential information is a person referred to as the Parliamentary Ethics Advisor,
yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
You also had available to you, if need be, the Clerk of the Legislative Assembly and his and then her staff. Is that
yes.
right? And so do you accept that there are ample resources available to you to ensure that you understood your obligation under those codes of conduct and under the relevant policies in the event that you had any concerns as to whether a particular form of conduct was permissible or not?
Yes.
So I think you were saying before you don't recall any specific training in relation to the code of conduct, is that right?
That's right.
Was there some procedure where after each election, for example, there'd be some sort of refresher training or something like that? Do you remember?
I recall documents, but not training. I can't remember training.
So probably some exchange of information at least?
I think so, yes.
When you first became a member of parliament, there was something in the nature of an induction where there was explanation of these kinds of things?
Yes. When you first became a member, yes, there was an induction.
But you were a member of parliament for 19 years.
Mm.
It wasn't the case, for example, that after each election there was some additional induction process that you participated in?
I can't recall that there was.
But if you did want a refresher, as it were, or you did want some further information, you were aware that you could seek that kind of information from the parliamentary staff, in particular from the clerk and those who work under the clerk. Is that
yes.
right? Now, do you agree that while you were a member of Parliament, you used your office in Parliament House in the course of seeking to pursue your own business interests?
Yes.
That included meetings in your Parliament House office in relation to personal business interests?
Yes.
It included meetings in other meeting rooms outside your Parliament House office in relation to personal business interests, correct?
Yes.
It included use of parliamentary email from time to time?
Occasionally, yes.
It also included using parliamentary facilities such as photocopiers, scanners, things of that kind?
Yes.
Do you agree that on more than one occasion you received deliveries in your Parliament House office of thousands of dollars in cash associated with a scheme involving the obtaining of Australian visas for Chinese nationals?
Yes.
And you received that cash from Ms Maggie Wang, I think?
Yes.